Is this working? Is this thing on? I don't do second takes because my brain gets stuck in my first take, and I don't know if I repeat things, and I don't know if I said that before. Anyways, it just works out better for me if I do just first takes. But I finally got audio working on. Oh boy, I tell you, it's been years with this $90 software I paid, and couldn't get the audio working ever, so I never used it. Now I got a video editor, and for free, and the help from some people on YouTube, I have audio. Oh my gosh. Okay, so anyways, this is the rotating spar skiff that I designed for this kind of like this new rig concept. I kind of thought of, it's a high aspect ratio sail. That's a drawback. Another drawback is you can't see past it very good. It's like this deck scraping jib that it kind of just blocks off half of the world. But I realized that towards the end of the design. I was working on the tackle back here, and I actually stopped. I was about ready to walk away from it and just throw up my arms, and but then I thought, well, keel boats, the weight of the mast goes in the wrong direction, the weight of the boom goes in the wrong direction. Can't do anything about that. It's part of the design. It's got a bunch of lead to freaking counteract the weight of your mast and your boom. But it's okay, because I started thinking about it, about this AIS transponders, and I thought of rear view mirrors have some, like rear view mirror, bubble rear view mirrors here. You could just look back here and kind of see out that way. And maybe some combination of both, and some little charger battery set up that you can charge up and last you 3-4 days or something. Anyways, so we're past that. We're past the mass weight being on the wrong side, and the weight of the boom being on the wrong side too. And we'll just move on with it here, and I'm going to start talking with the rig, and then I'll get to the hull and all that stuff. So, this is another idea I had too, was a clue. I made a clue plate, and I didn't want any galvanic corrosion, so it ended up being a really thin stainless steel, double-sided sheet stainless clue plate. Well, I didn't like the wear being all in one, focused like that, like a knife blade on everything. So I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, how about the way a sailmaker would do it? I'm not a sailmaker, but I appreciate the art and the guys that do it. And I thought, how about a batten and some webbing? Yeah, it's a batten in there, okay? That's the concept there, is that, but it wouldn't be a pocket. It would be stitched in there solid. It's not like a batten pocket. It's like it's stitched in. Part of the sail would have to be extracted to reuse it if they out of your old sail, if they made you a new one, or they could just put in another chunk. But you keep the batten. But something would have to be done to make sure that the batten didn't punch through the ends here, because the tension pulling like this is going to be pushing down on this end of the batten and pushing up on this end of the batten pretty hard. So they'd have to think of something, but I'm sure they could. So that was kind of like this soft clue plate, type thing, because I needed to truncate the sail, because I needed the room for the tackle, and this is like less than 1 square foot anyways. So I came up with that idea, and I'm sure sailmakers will like that. It's something they can do in a pinch, if on whoever's design. But anyways, it's a sail ring. It goes to a sail ring, stainless steel sail ring, and then this setup it's a hodgepodge. I reorganized some of Harkin's CAD files. I actually kind of redrew this plate, but I stuck with their styling and stuff like that. And they do it with the 6 millimeter high load. I mean the 16 millimeter high load. This is from the 22 millimeter series, and they have a fiddle like that, but it has like the standard, you know, shackle end type thing, but it's not a shackle. It's I don't know what you call them, the regular end, and then I just got a snap shackle here, and then I just used a 1024 stainless bolt, and I'm figuring like the super slick wrist washer you can get because the sail spins. But I think you know they would have to make a whole new plate if they were gonna make a swivel fiddle like this for the micro series. So I think, you know, with that in mind, they would go, well, we might as well do it like this because because we got to make a whole new plate. But I think that could be done, something like that. The 10 actually, the number 10 actually engineers out, so it's decent, you know, like that. But and then I got this other hodgepodge here, which wouldn't work because this pin wouldn't fit through this swivel, and if it did, it wouldn't be strong enough. Either way, this wouldn't be strong enough if you know if this could fit through it, or the pin wouldn't be strong enough if it was small enough to fit through it. So, but something like that. I like this V jam in the back for the main sheet. Anyways, I better get back to the rig here. Okay, it's not just the clue. It's not just the soft clue plate. What we got here is the rotating spar skiff, and you know, I have to have an application for something when I draw it. Otherwise, I can't bring myself to do it. You know, I couldn't just draw a rig and without a hull. So I thought I'll sit down with a hull, and I'm so practiced up with my 7 meter design. I've done hundreds of iterations of the 7 meter, and it's really turning into something. And now that I got audio, I can do a video on that too, where that's at. But I'm an accomplished computer drafts person, and I know my stuff. I've studied sailboat design for several years, and yeah, I got books on it and stuff. I've read all of them. Anyways, where are we here? So this spar rotates. Okay, this tip down here when you're tacking or jibing, this comes down like this, and the other end goes up. Okay, so this is like the flip flop thing, like the Asian rigs, except they got a big mast with a taller mast with ropes coming down that hold a round spar, because you couldn't orientate an airfoil with ropes. And that's the whole thing with this. We got an airfoil spar. Oh yeah, it's a 065 series asymmetrical airfoil based on it started out as an 021 down on a plane, and the way the wind sees it, it's an 021. I got it at 45 degrees with zero angle of attack on that foil, what's considered zero angles of attack, but it still has lift down to, I used the airfoil 4.0. It still has lift, plenty of lift down at -8 degrees of angle of attack, so it's a pretty decent foil. And that's the big plus with this, is you get it on bearings and get it located good, and that airfoil stays orientated. And airfoils do what airfoils are good at. They generate a pretty powerful relative vacuum that would just propagate down the backside of the sail, and they smoothly and aerodynamically separate that from a pretty decent pressure wave that would propagate down this side of the sail. So, even though this is 102 square feet, with the airfoil in area, and that's looking at it just flat on like this way with it at an angle, it's gonna be like, it's gonna feel like 130, 140 square feet, because it's just, and I didn't draw the seal perfectly. I just whatever, something like that. But I kind of gave it a bit of a bulge there to just kind of highlight the fact that that foil's gonna be making some pretty good power. Um, it's a high aspect ratio. That's a bad thing about it. Um, you get a lot of vortex shedding. On a long foot like that, you get be quite a bit of vortex shedding. But on a beat, the gunnel and foredeck kind of will stop that from happening. That's why people run deck scraping jibs, because they're cancel and knock out the vortex shedding, which ends up being drag. It basically equates to drag, which is bad on a beat. But and this, it's fine. It's fine. And that's the whole bad thing about high aspect ratio is really bad on a beat, but it's not. It gets less and less as bad as you fall off. So it's, in fact, spinnakers, it's all vortex shedding. Going around there, that's what it's all about, is developing vortex shedding and drag, so the wind carries you along like that. But I ran close centers here. It's 11 seam to seam here, or no, it's 22 seam to seam. It's 11 between the half ones in this seam. It's 11 between here, like here and here. Now the way I did this was there's 2 angular contact ball bearings. Okay, so, and they're opposed in orientation, so it's and I'm gonna have a castellated nut on this and a cotter key. I'm still thinking on it. A castellated nut and a cotter key, and then I was thinking a linchpin would be nice for people that gotta tear it down and put it in the garage, a lot, but they'd probably have it out seasonally, so a cotter key would not be bad. I don't think that anybody makes a linchpin that would be that thin and still go over the nut. So probably probably a castellated nut and a cotter pin, and then just bend over one side and you're good for the season. That type of thing. So there's an angular contact ball bearing on this side also, and then those bearings go into and it has to be stainless steel. When I first drew this, I was trying to looking through my metal sizing book, and it's like, the closest thing I found was a stick tube. But I thought, well, it doesn't have to bend that far, and it could be aluminum. But then I get it in there, and I'm like, what am I doing? Aluminum. These are stainless steel angular contact ball bearings. In fact, this whole thing is stainless steel, and I got no galvanic corrosion problems in production. You just can't have that stuff. In racing, they can do stuff like that, but you can't freaking do that in production. If you have like an electrical conductivity freaking scrap part, because it's conducting, whatever you do to try to keep that from happening, it's Murphy's Law. You scrap costs. You can't do that. So this has got to be stainless, and I probably got to redraw it as a thinner tube. But the idea here is it's roll formed, kind of like the gooseneck of a motorbike, where the bearings are an inference fit into the roll formed metal tube that goes into the mold, and that's molded in with the molded part, and then the bearings are pressed in to some inference fit that keeps them in there when you pull off the spar, and they stay on there when you put it back on, but you can get them out if you need to, that type of thing. And then there's also, besides the roll form tube that gets put into the mold, there's a 1/4-inch carbon fiber rod that also gets put into the mold, and then that becomes part of the casting along with the tube here, and then that's where your webbing, Velcro straps come around, and yeah, there's a lot of them. But the thing is a person It's only 6.5 feet from the deck. 6.5 feet, less than 2 meters from the deck to the axle bolt, which is a 12 millimeter. It's a 12 millimeter axle bolt, 6.5 feet off the deck. Most people could lift up the spar and just throw it right on there, and then tighten up the knot themselves, and they're all good to go. Put in a cotter key, of course. But let's see, where am I? Okay, so we got this little stainless steel casting I got here. That could be 3D printed, and then you'd have a casting plug, and you just take it down to a foundry. They make that out of stainless steel. It's to give you an idea of the scale here. That little stainless knuckle nugget would fit in the palm of your hand. That's how tiny that is. This is a 1 1/4 inch, 32 millimeter diameter, outside diameter, 049 wall. That's about 1.1 millimeter thick, thin wall, stainless steel tube. Okay, and that comes down to this foot plate here. And I got pop rivets, stainless steel, 1/4 inch stainless steel pop rivets up here. That'll take any torque that comes into from the foil on the axle, any axle torque out here, pushing it this way or that way. It'll transmit into those pop rivets and communicate into the tube, and the bolts will communicate back that you're not going anywhere. It's gonna, relative to the bolt, that's not gonna torque, because that tube will take some torque down to the hull, and it'll send back the message that it's not moving. I used forks. This is 4 millimeter wire, 4 millimeter 1x19. I used forks wages because, believe it or not, they're lighter, they're stronger, and they cost less. And the whole thing is, if you don't need a toggle, that's what you do. You get a fork, because if you don't need a toggle, and I don't here, that's the way to go. I did the same thing with the, this is drawn from a 2D the Ron Stan catalog. They're commodity grade stainless turnbuckles. That's also a fork, and swage, 4 millimeter swage fork. These are Allen Brothers rigging plates. I just like those. They're just very economically produced. It's a good method. They have the method. They obviously are a very organized company, and the price is decent. It's a very nice stainless steel part, and it's good for the job. Fits the pin good. And see how I got these divots in the mold. There's times I'll talk about the mold later on, where I can't do that because it won't pull from the mold. So everything's got to be designed so it comes out of the mold. It's all about getting the part out of the mold. Otherwise, you don't want to mold it. I got an anchor on here. It's a 1 kg Bruce. If anybody's ever experienced a 1 kg Bruce stainless anchor, they're really tiny. And this bowsprit is too. It's less than a foot. It's about 300, a little less than 300 millimeters. It's small, and then there's custom. People run off those things, custom pulleys all the time. I made it smaller because I like this ramp, the idea of the ramp coming up a little higher, so when you bail the rope, it kind of jumps off. Anyways, back to the brake here. Let's get back to the brake. How this thing spins. Okay. These are Harkin 16 millimeter series flip-flops. Flip-flop blocks. You see the pin going through there? There's a pin, a cotter key, and this spins out, rotates side to side. It'll arc out and arc back. Same on the other side over here. Okay. Now I'll go back up to the end of this mast. I'm going to trace this spar sheet. That's the spar sheet. Okay, so and the sail. This is the tack. I just call these the tack. Those are stainless, and there'd be a couple of grommets. Sorry to change the subject. I forgot to talk about that. There'd be a couple of grommets, and you'd have like a bowl and a barrel, and then through the little grommet, and another barrel, and then the tail coming out, and you'd wrap around here. You'd go through the big grommet, wrap around here again, go through the bowl, and pull it down. You know, you got to throw in your luff tension ahead of time, and you want it tight because you don't want cross torque, and you don't want that freaking out because there's pressure over, because of all the pressure on one side and the vacuum on the other. So anyways, back up to here. Okay, that's the tack. There's two of them. There's two tacks on this jib. Okay, there's also 2 foots, and there's also 2 leeches. Okay, so it's kind of weird, but here's and there's an eye strap here. There'd be like an 1/8 inch chain link, kind of a small one. See, the pressure is balanced because it's the axle line. That's what the wind force is resolving into, is the axle and the clue. So there's, it's this plane here. Okay, separating the power and the sail pretty evenly, so it should be pretty easy to rotate. So it's just just a little eye strap like that, an 1/8 inch quick link, splice on 5mm rope that runs down. This yellow rope here runs all the way down here to this flip-flop block, and it runs aft, goes through this cam cleat, and it goes down here to this. Oh, I got the. This is a size tiller. I gotta talk about the tiller extension now. This is the size tiller extension that I figured would be best. Where it's a telescoping one and it's a single stage, and that's about the dimensions. But I'm gonna get this out of here. I got the lines out of there. Oh, I lost my hiking strap with it. Hang on a second. I can do it. Hang on. Okay, these are 29er hiking straps. 29er hiking straps. Okay, so nobody's got to set up to make any different hiking straps. You can just get 29er hiking straps, and they'll go right in there. Okay, so following this rope down from the cam cleat there, it comes to this little 16mm fly block, and that has a 5mm bungee loop. It's a double thing. And then this, I had to have these pulleys, and I needed to contain this. So this is like the manufacturer serial number plate. That's the best thing I could think to do with it. I had to have something there to keep that contained, and these are bulk pulleys, sold individually. So anyways, the bungee goes through both of those, comes down to this eye strap down here. There's an eye strap down here, and that's where it'd be tied off, and you'd have that pulley all the way back in, jammed in between those pulleys there, and you'd be stretching it and getting some pre-tension into it, and then you tie it off. So it's a double 5mm, which is like a 1 7mm bungee kind of power. But anyways, back to the rope here. That came down from the end of the spar and went through the flip-flop block and through the cam cleat, comes through here and back up this way through the other cam cleat, and then it goes through this other flip-flop, and then it's right there with the same kind of thing as on the other end. You got an 1/8 inch quick link, eye splice, 1/8 inch quick link, and a eye strap. And there's the other tag. Okay, so on this thing here is like a rubber pad that protects the hull from the anchor chain. If anybody's wondering what that is, and that's a cheek block going over the anchor system here, and that's a little tiny 4-inch stainless steel cleat, and there'd be 2 snaps and a rope bag there for the anchor rope. Okay, so anyways, this is how the spar spins. You know, I got these. These are the Harken Micro fast release, where you can like pull up and towards you, and this because of this curve, you can kind of get it to help you get it out of the cleat. You know, of course you got to pull back a little bit, but you know, mostly up and towards you, and it'll kind of follow that curve up here and kind of rip it out of the cleat. So you can do that from a distance is the thing, you know. You give it a yank and pop it out of the cleat. And then you start pulling on the other one. This is the one that goes all the way up to the other end here. The one towards us. And you give it a good, you reach up and you give it a good yank, and you get some inertia into this thing, and that's where those stainless steel angular contacts come into action, because all that inertia you throw into it just starts, you know, coming this way and that way, and it's pulling the rope for you and slacking the rope for you, and as you're reaching up for another grab, and it'll come around. And then when it does come around, this side up here spins down like this, and you know, it gets to a point where this is like it's trying to pull the rope through the cleat that you've just pulled it through, you know, that you're pulling it through, which is cleated, you know, and it tries to pull it the other way, and it says, nope, this isn't going to happen, so it kind of, boom, you know, and it bounces there. I got good clearance up here. It won't hit anything up here or down there. It's kind of close in some places, but not bad. It's good clearance. It's good clearance. I just got to get it where you can see it here. Some people, you know, if they don't see that clearance, they're wondering, you know. So I gotta get it so everybody can see the clearance here. There's plenty of clearance. This thing could spin way past center and not hit. Actually, I'm having trouble moving my model here. Hang on a second. There it is. That's not even all the way there, because you can't even see the edge of the bearing. I don't know why I'm having a problem with this. What is it? It's like there's something hanging on to it here. Sometimes it does that. Maybe it's my mouse. No, I went too far. Anyways, there's clearance there. And there's clearance down here. About the same amount. It might not look like it, but there is. There's enough room is what it is on this side. You know, that's actually kind of way back there. Because this rope, you know, if you think about it going back the other way, and then this one's coming with some inertia, it's, you know, the cleat's gonna jam right there, and that'll come up. Oh, hey! Actually hit the clicker on the mouse. Sorry, I'm having problems. Oh, what is going? Hang on a second here. Sometimes, let's see if there's anything down here messing me up. I don't know if it's my mouse or I got. Sometimes things show up and they just throw everything out of whack. Oh, that's what it was. All of a sudden, it's just buttery. I don't know what that is, but you know, that's weird that I know how to get rid of that. Like I said, I have had it happen so many times. Being a, you know, somebody that does computer-aided design, your brain flips inside out sometimes. People that do computer-aided design, they know what I'm talking about there. It's a trip. It is really a trip sometimes. Anyways, that's mostly when you're working with wireframes. when you're working with wireframes, your brain is like wait, my brain flipped inside out. I gotta wait for it to, come on, brain, flip back the other way. Anyways, that's kind of how that works. The bungee, that, because when this turns, sorry about all that. I only do first takes. Um, when this turns, it's pulling up a lot of rope because these flip flops are turning sideways, and this tip is coming down like this, and it's, and this pulley is gonna, the first 90 degrees of spar rotation, the pulley will come up to about here, and the second 90 degrees of spar rotation, the pulley will come back, and then you're there. And then two, reefing is done just by tipping the sail. That's the simple part. I realized that this thing is gonna depower really nicely if you tip it. It's kind of weird, but I can't remember if it's a leech that gets a little tight, or if it's the foot that gets a little tight when it rotates. The nice thing is this rope bridge back here. Okay, it's actually acting like a track when you tip it, because when it flies out, because it just inherently, the spar has a little bit of an angle like that. It's not straight up and down. It's at a little bit of an angle. You see it? And because of that, the more it flies out, the more it's like this fixed point is like on a track moving this way and kind of pulling down and on the leech. So it's kind of like, you know how your jib traveler, you want it to kind of move forward when you're going more down into a broader reach or downwind. Well, this automatically does that, even though it's standing still, and it's because of this angle. And that's kind of neat. I thought that was kind of, that's kind of neat. But anyways, it's the same kind of effect, except it kind of goes into overdrive when you tip the sail, and it'll depower. Plus, there's a few reasons it would depower. The other reason is because the airfoil attitude actually changes to the wind. So instead of developing a vacuum up here, it's developing less of a vacuum, and it's really neat. I can just see somebody like being able to sail up to a dock without a paddle. If they were accomplished at sailing this thing, like they could just tip the spar, and it would be like depowering it, and then they'd slow way down, and they could just sail right up to a dock. I could just see that. Like somebody could actually do that. Maybe not all the time. You'd still want to keep a paddle on, but up to a floating dock or whatever they call them. So that's another plus. So all the reefing and the tacking and jibing is done with this yellow rope. It's pretty simple. It's really simple. It's really clean. Like I said, it would just be a rope bag right here. This is the bungee for the centerboard, of course. I made a handle for it because I thought, well, the centerboard is a consumable. That has got to break before the hull does, and that's all there is to it. So it's something that's engineered to break, and people break them. And it's better to just have something that doesn't have to be remade. Like they can put their old handle on a new centerboard as many times as it takes them to figure out how not to break their centerboard. And then there's a plate. There's a stainless plate there. But I like this handle because it was inspired by the airfoil design down there. It's a symmetrical 065 series, also Chubby 021. Same as the rudder, except this one's extruded straight and the rudder is extruded at an angle. But that's high aspect ratio. That's what you want down there. And yeah, it's kind of not a lot of area, but This thing has got a really low center of effort, and it's got a really wide beam, 16 foot, 6.5 foot beam, or almost 5 meters, almost 2 meters beam, and it's got a very low center of effort, and that gives me more active area because the healing isn't going to be too bad. In fact, I spec'd out a Soba 85 compass. I mean, you got to spec to something. You can't draw stuff unless you know what's going there with any design. That's just how it is. You have to spec something, and that has a maximum of 25 degree of heal. And I thought, well, I made this thing to be comfortable, and that's about as much heal as anybody's gonna run with this thing. But anyways, in most cases, I gotta have a little bit more, keel fin and rudder area exposed, because when you heel over, you're losing that, But because the center of effort is so low on the sail and so far forward, I was shocked at how far I could move that thing forward. The centerboard. You can kind of see where it is. It's basically kind of like right at the apex. It's kind of bizarre it turned out like that, but this foil is really going to throw a lot of power into the front of the sail, and then it just kind of dissipates as it, as it goes along, because this angle is, it's kind of dissipating. But it turned out really nice. I was at first I thought, well, the compass is going to go up here, and I was checking to see if you could see past it, but I hadn't run my numbers, but I was able to actually get the compass on this side. I just ran it like that, and it looks nice. Anyway, it's a long video. It's an interesting rig. This is all stainless. I did see that was a stainless. I did go over that. Yeah. Okay. Where am I here now? Back to the rope box. Okay, so this jam cleat back here, this V jam, the main sheet comes out of there, goes through this fair lead on the tiller, and down into this rope box. Well, you can't frickin' mold a rope box like that. You can if you mold it separately. Okay, that's a separate part that gets molded separately. The bottom of the rope box is curved, so the water drains out these drains here. And it's just to leave it open like that. You can fit quite a bit of rope in there and some stuff. This is a 4-to-1, so it's gonna spit out quite a bit of stuff. But it's just 5 millimeter there too. This is a sailing gloves only setup. You gotta. It's not your freaking massive ocean cruiser with 12 millimeter sheets. It's 5 millimeter line. You gotta have your racing gloves, so you stuff those back there too. You stuff your racing gloves under, not your racing gloves, your gloves, your sailing gloves under there. And then the rope kind of pays down there, and that way you kind of know where it's at. It's not this. Where's that main sheet thing? Looking around for it. Well, you look at the tackle first, but it's just like you don't have to look that far. In either case, you just know where it is. It's going to be accessible, more accessible there. So this part gets molded separately from this part. I can hide that, and I didn't do the edge treatments on it yet for being molded separately, because it would be molded separately, it would be epoxied in place, and then it would be faired out. So it's going to look a little ugly here, but I'll hide it for a second. There it is. See, this is what'll be molded, except it'll look more like it's mold friendly. The edges of it will, but and then there it is with the, and there's my tiller extension came back. So real simple here, 1/4 inch quick links, pad eyes. The rudder. The rudder's pretty neat. It's sprung. I thought, the thing is that, I'm running stainless steel plates here. The plastic ones, I think they make them plastic so that they break before the hull breaks, and I understand that, but I just kind of wanted this to be a little bit more like you're not going to drop it in the drink, for one thing, and for two, just a little bit more sense of durability and longevity to it. So I used the same rigging plates that I used in the front, those Allen Brothers rigging plates, and I drew up these little nylon washers that go in there. I don't know if you can see them. They're kind of like white nylon, and it's kind of neat because it's curved, so it just fits in there. And you can imagine snugging it up. This one will get welded in. This bolt will get welded in from the top and come down, and the nut goes on there. You gotta have the rudder all the way over to get the spanner on it, on the 12-point box end, one at a time. And then this bolt comes in underneath, because the length of the extra length of the bolt you need here would actually hit the top of it. And I did that because I thought, well, I want it to be kind of light, and then two, the tiller, because I wanted to make the tiller shorter. You see what I mean? He says if the center of lift is not that far off it's a very light rudder. It doesn't push back a lot, but you want some pushback, but that makes it so I can make the tiller shorter, so there's more room in the boat that isn't like the freaking tiller no-go zone. It takes up so much room in boats sometimes. It's just ridiculous. So I thought I'm going to reduce the tiller no-go zone and, kind of give this a little bit of assist, and that's kind of what it is. Your center of lift is back here. It gets it pretty close to the axis. You still got to feel it, though. You got to have some feedback there with the rudder, and I understand that, but I just wanted to make it a little shorter. And then this has springs on it, and those are 4-inch springs or 100mm springs is what I went with, so it could be metric or imperial. 4 inches, 100mm. What exact specs those springs are, I have no idea, because I'm not going to do the math on that. This whole thing is you just put it behind a power boat and take it up to about 30 knots. And, if the springs hold, they're tight enough. If they don't, you put on some tighter ones, like that. So I took this apart in the video with no audio on it, but I'll pop it apart again. It's kind of neat. It's, this bar comes up like this. It's a folded metal, or it's folded stainless, and then this welds onto here. You can get a good weld in there, because this round part here fits up in there when it flips up all the way. And then there's a bar. That bar continues on here through this, and then I got all these pop rivets in here, because I know people probably saw that and went, oh my gosh, 10 pop rivets. Holy cow, man. You don't want that to come off. No, the thing is it's just spreading out the force, and I put the plates up here so that the pop rivets do pop, because this I'm designing to be king starboard, 3/4 inch king starboard, like the Dolphin Gray, for example, here. Okay, and the reason why is because if somebody falls on this or steps on it, or it'll flex. It has, and it's the same thing where I'm just trying to protect this part of the hull from forces like that, because it's not plastic. This is not plastic, and this is close to the water line, so this will flex, and the springs will give. Like this is at a 90-degree angle here. That's where the spring has the most power over the rudder. As the rudder tips up, the springs have less and less power over it. Even though it's getting longer, You know, it has less and less power over it, and then it comes past center here, and it just kind of, and it's in the stowed position. So, you know, it's handy like that. You don't have to take the rudder off, but you can. You know, and that's the idea. You can take it off, but it's like you get out your wrenches and all that stuff. You know, it's not stuff you take sailing, so you can take off your rudder, because people can take off the rudders and they end up dropping them into the depths, and that happens. You know, and Tio, you know, the guy that the boat rambler dude that kind of got me to do the first video on this, because I was trying to explain what I was thinking to him, you know, on the rig here. One of his friends, one of his pals, dropped a laser rudder into the river over there in Portugal. So, anyways, and thanks to the guy that was harassing me about this not working, because like it would hit the shrouds. It's not gonna hit the shrouds. It's way clear. It's that foil. See, that foil just takes it way out there. It's freaking really pretty nice. This thing is gonna beat decent. You know, it's gonna beat. It'll probably beat a racing boat in a beat. I really think it will. And then as it falls off, it's just gonna go psycho. You know, because that high aspect ratio, it's gonna. Oh my gosh. They peak out, but that, you know, the whole thing is the foil power is gonna match up with the high aspect ratio power for a pretty nice, you know, pretty nice goal all around. And that's how I designed the hull too. I mean, I got a lot of, like I said, I got hundreds of iterations of my 7-meter design, so I was very well practiced at hull design by the time I did this, and it just fifth iteration I got it. But I was going for like a more well balanced performance. You can see it's not like a racing wedge or anything like that. It's kind of, it has some, you know, low speed squeeze where the gravity of the water kind of pushes it forward on the tail here. Kind of, oh yeah, I could show the bottom. That's probably the best way to see it, is just the bottom view. You know, you can see it tapering back here. And then I did what I could to, you know, combat asymmetry. You know, the asymmetrical heel, and then I got it'd be like one of those kind of hulls where it'd be if it was level on calm water and you stepped into it, you'd notice it was kind of tender at first, but then as it heals over, it gets stiff really fast. It's kind of like that. And but it's just designed to be a really good all-around performing hull, like really good light air performance, and still be able to go into true planing. You know, still be really fast and smoother and less splashing type of thing. You know, the nose will stay down a little better and that type of thing. But you know, I've seen these boats at boat shows where they have it just blew my mind. They have like a radius here. There's no seam at all. And I thought, how the heck are they doing? Who knows? It must be some kind of new trade secret, but I've seen several boats like that where they have, it's like there's no seam. And it's radius, like, and I love to have this boat done like that. I mean, basically, I just want the credits as the boat designer and maybe a job opportunity. That's all I'm looking for. I just want you know, I need some freaking credibility. I'm a victim of social predatory behavior. People are really freaking mean to me. They treat me like crap, like I'm not good for anything because it's fun for them or something. I don't know what it is. It's probably the wrong thing to say, but you know, it's true. You know, I do a lot of work. I work on a lot of things, and people don't even realize it. They have no idea. A lot of important stuff. And this is kind of what I do in my spare time. But you know, if I could get some, you know, like my compound bow design that was Honeywell International picked that up. You know, I'm the son of immigrants. I have no, you know, it's just like, if, you know, and that's how it is with an invention if the military wants it. I don't know what these people think when they freaking say, oh gosh, I'm trying to freaking invent this something for the military, like they're gonna make a lot of money. No, they just walk off with it. You get nothing. That's how it is. It's what you don't want if you want to make money off your patent, because they walk off with it, and you're standing there with nothing. But anyways, yeah, that's all I would want out of this. I can send the CAD file out. If there's a boat manufacturer that wants to look at it, or people want to look at it and maybe take it to a boat manufacturer or talk about producing it or whatever. Just give me credits for the initial design. That's all I'm looking for. I think that about wraps it up. It's a fairly decent design. I can do a video on my 7 meter now. I might do that pretty soon too. That's a different kind of thing, but this is just more comfortable. It's just, I mean, well, no, the 7 meter is more comfortable. This is comfortable for a skiff. I just designed it to be kind of a comfortable luxury skiff, because it's like the 29er actually has the same beam, but they got that curved seam on them. And if you look at a 29er, the hiking straps are out a lot further from each other, and basically you're out on your thighs, and it's a racer. The 29er is a full-on racer, and it really is. That's like trapeze and everything. This is like common everyday type of skiff, and it's comfortable because you have your feet in the hiking straps and your rump's on the gunnel, not your thighs. So it's not ripping at your knees. It's comfortable, and that's how I designed it. Was comfortable and practical, and if it beats better than anything else, like I said, it'd probably beat a racing boat upwind. If it gets upwind faster, it just makes it more practical. It's just more a practical mode of transit like that. So there's drawbacks with it. Like I said, you can't see. That's a problem. And it doesn't have a lot of storage on it. I could put some lockers in it. I was thinking about it, but I think I'll wait to see if there's anybody that's interested. I can do some more work on it if a manufacturer wants to pick it up and they want me to do some more work on it. I can do that remotely. Is fine. So anyways, I guess I'll wrap it up at this point. I think I've pretty much gone over everything. Yeah. Okay, so it's the first take thing, and I gotta go through this thing where I shut down the video. There it is. Okay, see you.